Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. I'm your host, Brooke Mitchell, and today's topic is so many sharks and why they matter for ocean diversity with marine biologist and expedition leader Eric Ramirez. Thank you so much for being here today, Eric. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that incredible presentation, Brooke. So again, my name is Eric Ramirez, and today's topic is so many sharks and why they matter for ocean diversity. I don't know if you remember that, but I gave a similar webinar a year ago, and it was related about sharks. But this time, I'm gonna go more deep into why they are so important for the ocean diversity. So first, I'm gonna talk about a little bit of myself. If you recognize that I have a very thick accent, yes, you're right. I'm Mexican. That's the reason. And as I said, as I told you, I'm Mexican. I was born and raised in Mexico. But when I was 18, I decided to move from Morelia, which is in the kind of in the center of the country, to La Paz, which is the capital of Baja California Sur, aka as Baja for the rest of the world. And in La Paz, I studied marine biology for 4.5 years. The last 2 years of my studies, I entered in a shark lab where I collaborated with different researchers, and also I was doing some research upon sharks. And then once I finished my studies, I started to work as genetic lab technician for 2 years, and then I quit it. And then I started to work as a local guide in La Paz, guiding different trips to see whale sharks, marine life, like different kind of fish, dolphins, sea lions mostly, and birds as well. And just very recently, in 2021, I started to work as an expedition leader to lead trips to see the beautiful monarch butterfly sanctuaries in Mexico. Also, I had the chance in 2022 to guide a couple trips in Yucatan Peninsula to see the whale sharks as well. Unfortunately, that trip got canceled, but we still have other great expeditions in different parts of the world. So I told you before that I work when I was studying. I work a little bit with sharks. My main task was to go to fishery camps to take samples from different tissues from the sharks, especially blood, muscle, also the stomachs from the dead sharks. And with all these tissues and also these things that we collected from the sharks, in the lab we performed different kind of studies. My job was to analyze stomach contents from two species, the silky sharks and also the smooth hammerhead sharks. So basically my job was to be like kind of a scientist CSI, just to see uh, the type of prey who were eaten by the shark. So before I did this, I thought that sharks were some animals who were eating everything, because I mean, with that shape, that size, those teeth, you were able to eat whatever you want. But after my research, I realized that sharks are more specialized creatures than I thought. Okay, so with all that being said, I will start with this. So I know that these organisms don't look like a shark, right? They look like things for sci-fi, right? But these are the shark's ancestors. Sharks have been existed since 450 million years ago, but in back in those days were not considered sharks. They were like creatures with different characteristics. They were not actually unlike the sharks that we have nowadays. Before, they had really crazy features with different kind of mouths, as you've seen before, but they actually start to increase the numbers and the species during the Jurassic period and also Cretacic period. This is the moment when many sharks started to thrive and to diversify to different species. So nowadays we can say that we have around 480 and between 480 and 500 species of sharks. It all depends to whom you ask this question, because some scientists are not agree that some species are considered species. They think that they are more like subspecies, but this is not a topic and not a place to discuss this. But I want to ask Brooke if you can help me to ask our audience today. I want to play a game with you. I'm gonna ask you which animal is not a shark. You can type down your answer, and Brooke, if you can be very, very, very nice, you can tell me the answers from our guests.
Absolutely. I am here and ready. Everybody, what is your guess? Which one is not a shark? Ooh, someone said trick question. Oh, we got a B.
B.
All
Okay.
are sharks.
Okay. All
B,
sharks.
A.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, B looks pretty suspicious. I think this friend is. It doesn't look like a shark, right? Yeah.
Oh, we have
B,
A, B, and C.
A, B, and C.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we got an
Yeah, I know
E.
that. That looks like a whale, right? Okay. So I'm gonna continue. Thank you so much for your participation and for you too, Brooke. So the answer is none. All of them actually are sharks. But I put this because I want to tell you that sharks come in different shapes, colors, and forms. I know that in our minds when we mention the word shark, it always pops up this cylindric torpedo shape organism, but in reality sharks are well adapted to be in different places, but this adaptation cost them a lot of job, a lot of energy, and they have to adapt to these places, developing different type of structures that might not be effective if they were live in other places. So we're gonna break down the first myth today. Sharks are not the same. Sharks, they have different features, they have different characteristics, and different shapes and colors as well. So sharks, they have relatives. So we have this huge group of animals that we're gonna call them elasmobranchi, which are all the organisms who are fish that are made out of cartilaginous cartilage. Cartilage is a soft structure that, for example, our ears are made of out of, and these guys they don't have a bony structure. They, instead of real bones, they have cartilage. All right. So in this huge group, we have rays, we have skates, we have mantas, we have sharks and chimeras. Don't ask me what is a chimera because scientists don't even know what is a chimera. So basically, if it's not a if it's not a shark or a ray, it must be a chimera. All right. So this is the bow plan, or this is in general how a shark looks like. So I'm gonna also introduce you to my friend Sandy. This Sandy is a hammerhead shark, which I take when I'm guiding some trips. So this is very simple. Sharks, they have a body, a torpedo-like body. They have a dorsal fin. Sometimes they have two dorsal fins. They have a tail. They have two pectoral fins, two pelvic fins, and snout. That's the original plan of a shark. But then sharks, they have characteristics in common. So first they have in the snout these organs that we call them ampulla lorenzini. These organs are in charge to detect the electric pulses from other organisms. I'm going to talk about this later. But all of them, they have the ampulla lorenzini on the snout. Second, as I said before, their bodies, their skeleton is made out of cartilage. Third, as being a fish, they do have scales, although they don't. If you see a shark skin, it might look like a very soft skin, like one piece, but it's not. It's made out of different type of specialized scales. We call them placoid scales, and these scales are really incredible because they fulfill two functions. First, they are laid out in a way from the head to the tail, one below the other one, in order to make the animal more hydrodynamic. Second, with this layout, they also provide them a type of armor which protects the animal from other shark attacks. All right. Third, then we have the liver. Sharks, they have big chunks of liver that helps them out to produce a type of oil, which are gonna allow, which is gonna allow them to be more buoyant or less buoyant. And and this characteristic, sharks, they have gill slits. Normally they have five. Sometimes they have six, but very rarely they have seven. It's more likely to see five gill slits in each side. All right. So sharks, they have a very acute senses. They have the electrical perception, which are the ampulla lawrenceana in the snout. Then they have the touch, a lateral line which goes from the head to the tail. I'm gonna talk about this later. The smell, they have two narines, which are two holes nearby the snout, which are used to smell the chemical compounds dissolved in the water. The hearing, they do have ears, although they don't have the external ear structure that we have. They do have inner ears, and the eyesight, the taste in the mouth. So, okay, ampulla lawrencini. Eric, what is that? It sounds very complicated. Okay, as I said before, they're just organs who detect electric pulses from every single organism in the which is in the water. Okay, and close by, of course. So below the scales, we have these pores, and these pores are stuffed with jelly, and all the electric pulses run through this jelly, pass through the nerves, and this is the message that goes straight to the brain and tells the shark that there's something very close by. All right. So one of the most impressive sharks who have developed the largest amount of ampulla, of course, is the hammerhead shark, because they have a very huge snout, a very huge head. They host also more and more of these cells. And touch and lateral line, this is a feature that all the fish share in common, including, of course, the sharks and bony fish as well. And this lateral line has small pores which are conducting the water through sensory cells that looks like hair. So they're detecting the variations of pressure in the water. That's why if you have seen, for example, large schools of fish, and you see that they are swimming all at once together without touching themselves, it's because this sense is so acute, it's so sensitive, that they can feel all these small variations of pressure, and once a fish moves towards the other, immediately they respond moving to the other side, creating a domino effect. So this is something beyond our imagination. Smell, they do smell really good, and they have two narines, two holes, which they use to put water inside and outside. But it's interesting because when we smell, we detect all the chemical compounds that are in our environment. For example, if right now my wife is cooking cookies, I will smell like, okay, that's a cookie. But when I breathe out, um, my my cells cannot detect when I breathe out the compounds of the cookies. In the case of the sharks, they do detect in both ways, making this smell sense really, really good. So apparently, scientists discovered that sharks can detect one droplet of blood in a swimming pool, an Olympic swimming pool. That's a lot. But we're gonna break the second myth that sharks can smell a drop of blood in a mouth. It's not that much. People tend to exaggerate, but yes, they have a really good sense of smell. But hearing, although this is not the best and the most acute sense within the shark group, it is really good because also it helps them out to find prey. How and why? The reason is when a prey is wounded, normally it's making a sound between 30 and 40 hertz of frequency, and the sharks are detecting these variations in the water, and they immediately recognize that this could be a potential prey. That's why combining everything, the smell, the lateral line, the ambular and the hearing, they are really good hunters. What about the eyesight? Eyesight is it's good. It's not the best, but it's just interesting because it's very similar to the human eyesight. But in the case of the sharks, they have a very incredible feature. We call it tapetum lucidum, which is a layer of different type of crystals that increase the amount of light which is normally very scarce during the night. That's why some sharks they like to hunt during the night, because some of species they cannot see pretty well, but they do. They actually take advantage of the slightest amount of light that is in the water at night, of course. So also this shark, for example, is using something that we call a third eyelid. Normally, sharks they cannot close their eyes, except for this one, the tiger shark. And this is a very novel feature within this group. But also the ones who cannot close their eyes, what they do is they retract their eyes. They put their eyes backwards, like the great white shark. Before they hunt their prey, they put their eyes backwards to protect this organ. Otherwise, they will the eyes could get hurt, and this is not really good for the sharks. About reproduction, we have three different, we call them the champion of the reproduction, or not really the champions, but more the extremist species of sharks who have these incredible features. In first place, we have the eye treasure shark, big eye treasure shark. This shark can only produce two puppies per season. This is incredible because sometimes sharks they can produce between 50, 100, 150, 200, but these sharks only two puppies. So then we have the Greenland shark. This guy reached the sexual maturity of 150 years. So before that age, is not even considered mature. So you could imagine how old they can be. Scientists recently have discovered that Greenland sharks can reach up 400 years old. So that's a lot if we consider these organisms are fish. And the spiny dogfish can reach the gestation period of 31 months. So with this example, we can infer that sharks, they don't have some sharks, they don't have large offspring. They reach their sexual maturity pretty late, and the gestation period is pretty long. Okay. So about how do they produce their puppies? This is a good question. As Mexican, it's so hard for me to pronounce this word, so I'm gonna pronounce it only once. So first we have oviparity, which is egg laying. Second, ovoviviparity, which is half egg laying, half live birth, and then a placental viviparity, which is live birth. So the first one, the sharks will lay the eggs on the bottom, so the inside the embryo can develop pretty well, and afterwards the egg will hatch, and then we will have a fully grown shark. The second one, the female has inside eggs that which will hatch, and eventually they will stay there until they're ready to get out of the mother's body. And the third one, the placental biparity, they give them a life, but they are attached by an umbilical cord to the uterus of the mother. They receive nourishment with this umbilical cord, but when they're ready, they're just going to, the female will give them birth alive, right? So sharks habitats. This is incredible because sharks could be found everywhere. In coral reefs, mangroves, Arctic waters, tropical waters, temperate waters, cold waters, deep sea, coastal waters, and believe it or not, sometimes in fresh waters. I know this sounds really crazy, but for example, the bull shark has the ability to go in the river streams, um, and the reason still unknown. Probably they're searching for some food, but they can do this. About shark food behavior, this is interesting because if you read the word shark, sometimes we see that they all predators. But in reality, yes, some of them they are predators, but some of them they're not. Some of them also act as a prey. So sharks feed on different prey and all depends of the place where they live. Some of them they live in the open ocean. Some of them they live more close to the bottom. And of course that in these environments we find different type of prey. So this is a great example of how the saw shark feeds upon its prey. They use its long snout, fully covered with teeth, and basically what they do is they slash from one side to the other the prey in order to kill it. Second, we have the treasure shark. They use this long tail to as a whip to stun the prey. And once they are completely stunned, they will predate upon them. Very easy. And then, of course, we have our incredible great hammerhead sharks. They are basically almost dwelling on the bottom, detecting all the possible rays who are buried under the sand. And once they find something, they will use this big um, T shovel like structure to scoop up and just feed upon the ray. And of course, we have the incredible vulture, which is one of the three only filter feeder sharks that we have. So we're gonna break down the third myth: sharks eat everything. That is not true. They are specialized in different prey and they're specialized in different environments as well. So this is the core of all this presentation. Sharks have an ecological role. Yes, they do have. And before I continue, I want to tell you that we need to start to see nature not as separate compounds. We need to see nature as a huge unity. In this case, the marine ecosystem has to be seen as a whole compound of different ingredients, different organisms acting at the same time. We cannot conceive the world without the microalgae or without the crustaceans or without the sharks or fish or birds. Why? The reason is because they are interconnected. They are transporting energy from one level in the food chain to another. So that's why if we decided to remove one of these layers, one of this group of organisms, as a result, we will have a total chaos in the ecosystem. So every single organism is connected with the other one. And the reason is this: we have very easy to be explained a food web where we have on the bottom the phytoplankton, which are our base, and these are the microalgae. And then we have crustaceans, for example. We can have other kind of organisms, of course. And then we have herrings, mackerel fish, and then on the top we have the shark. So what happens if we remove, for example, the phytoplankton? This will have severe consequence in the whole pyramid, of course. But what happens if we remove the sharks on the top? Probably, for example, the numbers of mackerel will increase and they will eat basically all the herrings, and the level of crustaceans that will increase as well, and they will basically end the population of the phytoplankton. So there's always a consequence if we remove one of these um, group of organisms from the food web. So a very easy example is we have a group of white-tip reef sharks which normally predate upon the parrotfish, and then the parrotfish prey upon the algae. So what happens if we remove from one day to another our sharks? That means that the population will explode. That we will have more parrotfish in the coral reef, and of course we will have less algae for other herbivorous species. So yes, sharks they play an important ecological role because they control the populations of other species. Also, what they do is they're in charge to remove the organisms from the populations who are sick or who are old, and this is really good for the population by itself because that means that this population will be healthy. Sickness or parasites won't be passed to the next generations. So this is a really good way to keep healthy populations in nature. So This is really good. These are three really good concepts: richness, abundance, and diversity. So richness is the amount of species that you have in a determined area. Abundance is the number of individuals of these species that you have in a specific area. And diversity is a combination of both: the number of species that you have and the number of organisms that you have of this species. So it's very interesting because we could have a lot of species. That means that we have a lot of richness, but there are not so many individuals. That once is low, that means that we will have a low diversity. But what happened, for example, when we have um, low levels of richness and high levels of abundance, that means that low diversity. But when we have high levels of richness, high levels of abundance, that means that we have a very healthy ecosystem because this place will be highly diverse. So this could be only achieved if we have sharks in the environment. All right. So in our left hand picture, we have many sharks, a very healthy ecosystem with different species, all thriving in the same coral reef. But what happened in the right side? I mean, apparently we see life, and people would think, okay, I see life. So that means that is healthy, right? No. So this place used to be a kelp forest, but unfortunately, the predators from the sea urchins were removed, and the population just exploded, and now we have a lot of sea urchin, and now we don't have so much kelp forest left. So yes, sharks are really important to keep this environment healthy. So now I'm going to I wanted to talk about the most iconic and the most important and the most beautiful, incredible sharks in the animal kingdom. But I see no reason to do this because you probably know about this species, about the bull sharks, hammerhead sharks, leopard sharks, lemon sharks. Nah, those are really, really old-fashioned. I'm gonna show you something different today. So, are you ready to see the weirdest, wackiest, and oddest sharks of the animal kingdom? Yeah, let's do this. So, I introduce you the cookie cutter shark or the cigarette shark. So, apparently, if we see the shark, it's not like on the left side we have an image of the shark. It has a cylindric shape. It's not pretty big. We're talking about no more than 22 inches long, but can you see that mouth? It's fully covered of very sharp teeth. Okay, so the cookie shark that has the lower jaw fully covered, line up with very pointy triangle shaped teeth that they're really good to cut to make a perfect round cut. But in the upper jaw, we have like a hodgepodge of different type, shapes, and forms of teeth, which are really used to hook. So as a result, we have this. So the cookie sharks, they tend to swim together. Normally they are on the bottom, they're waiting, and once the sun goes down, they swim up to the surface and they predate upon different organisms, including sea lions, marine elephants, other fish, sharks, whales, leaving this very particular mark on their skin. These guys are considered as ectoparasites because they are actually key the prey most of the time. But yes, they're pretty annoying for big species like, for example, great white sharks or whales as well. So these are the cookie cutter sharks. In the second position, we have the Greenland shark. It's pretty obvious what I told you about them. They reach the sex so much pretty late, 400 years old they are, but how do they do this? Why they can keep this very low pace in life? And the reason is because they consume very low levels of oxygen. They also live in cold environments. These cold environments, they keep the metabolism very low. And as fact, these guys, they technically don't swim. They just float. They're not spending so much energy. And one fun fact about this is that they have a very interesting relationship with a crustacean. It's a copepod, which is attached to their eye bulbs. And most of the time, they ended up blind. So sometimes they're blind, they're big, and what they eat is other fishes and sometimes polar bears or caribous. And the next one is the Epaulet carpet shark. This is one of my favorites, and unfortunately, I had not the chance to see them in Indonesia when I was diving there. And these also are known as the walking sharks. So these are pretty small sharks. We're talking about no more than 25, 30 inches long, and they have this very identified colors, beige color, and they have a very big black circle in one of the sides of of its body. And the reason why they're called the walking sharks is because they normally feed upon their prey and during the dawn or the dusk, and when the tide goes down, sometimes they have some incursions in these bull ties because it's very easy to hunt um, organisms who got trapped in this bull tides. If you don't believe me, check this video. So this is what happened. The animal has a very incredible adaptation. So basically, the muscles from the pelvic and pectoral fins are so strong that enables them to walk technically. Yeah. Also, they can live in environments with low levels of oxygen. That's why they have these incursions to the pool tides. So then we have the watermelon shark. These sharks could be found in different parts of New Guinea, also in Indonesia as well. And they have this very interesting feature nearby the mouth. It's like it looks like a beard. They're called like a shaggy beard, and there are dorsal ventral compressed. That means that they flatten, and they are also dwellers as well. They also look like a ray, to be honest, for me, but they are more related to, for example, the whale sharks than with the rays. So this is fascinating because they display this incredible color pattern around their bodies, and they're most likely seen on top of the corals, or sometimes they're buried under the sand, and they're really good hunting their prey. And how do they do this? They just wait. They actually use one a very interesting appendix which is on top of their heads, which are used. They just shake this, and they're lurking their prey, and as soon as they close enough, this is something that is going to happen. Boom, it's gone. So yeah, watermelon sharks, amazing. And then last but not least, we have one of the rarest and really incredible shark is the mega mouth shark. Remember that I told you that we have in animal kingdom only three filter feeder sharks: the whale shark, the basking shark in Ireland, and then we have the mega mouth, which is the smallest of these three sharks. The mega mouth shark is also filter feeder, and they open their mouth and they let everything come in. But it's interesting because they were discovered in 1976, if I could remember, and since then only 60 organisms were reported. Only 60. We don't know pretty much about how they mate. We don't know how much about their food habits. So the only thing that we know is that they prefer to be in tropical waters nearby Japan and Taiwan and Philippines, and probably in other places in the world. But we are not sure. So, Brooke, if you can help me to, I know, one more time play a game, I'm gonna ask the audience, which animal would you consider more dangerous? Dogs, deers, or sharks? I want to hear your answers.
Well, for everyone, put them in. Okay, deer, and then we have dog, deers, dogs, deer.
Deer,
Lots
deer.
of deers
Yeah,
and dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
another dog, another dog, another
Yeah.
dog. Wow, we're
That
like 50-50 right now.
yeah. So thank you, Brooke, for that. For that, the answer is dogs. Exactly. Dogs are more dangerous. Dogs kill 30,000 people in the per year in the world. Deers only in U.S. 500 people are killed by deers, and sharks only 10 people are killed by them. So this is surprise. This is a very huge surprise. But so that leads me to the next question. So if they are not this deadly machine that we thought, why we are so afraid? Why when we mention the word shark, everyone is pale and no one wants to jump to the water? So the reason is this. We need to blame our brains, but also we need to blame Hollywood. But first, I'm going to start with our brains. So our brains work in a way in use the method of heuristics. That means that our brain is not going to take enough time to make a quick decision and is just going to rely upon our previous experience and all the information that we have collected since we were kids. So of course, if in 1970, 78, 76, I could remember, still Spielberg told us that there was a great white shark hunting people in the water. Now we have it here, immersed as an idea. It is impossible that when we mention the word shark, we don't feel fear. Our brains are not going to think, oh, but the other day I was listening a webinar from Eric who told us that sharks are not killing that amount of people. Sharks actually, they're not these killer machines. So I'm not going to be afraid. No, we are not. We are not taking so much time to take these quick decisions. We are not going to get to the water. Of course, if someone mentioned the word shark, due to all the information that we have been accumulated that are portraying sharks as a killer machines. And this is the real problem. So in the 70s, Hollywood made a lot of money using a bad reputation of sharks. They create a sense of anxiety and fear in the water because they told us that, yes, there were outside some sharks hunting people. And this is not true. You already saw I already told you the numbers. But of course, that this was really, really good for the film industry. That many other filmmakers decided to make movies about sharks. Of course, always been this bloodthirsty organisms like Sharktopus, Sharknado, or Sky Sharks. So for me, those are just gossips. Nothing is based on truth. So the real problem is this. Remember that I told you that sharks they have low levels of puppies per year. They reach the sexual maturity pretty late. I also mentioned that the gestation periods tend to be very, very long. These three traits are part of the life history of the sharks. And if you combine this with overfishing, this as a result, you have the combination that leads us to the the diminish of the shark population around the globe. That's a fact. More people are demanding shark products, and also sometimes due to the ignorance of how these organisms interact in the water, people tend to kill them. So if you combine all these culprits with contamination, habitat loss, and global warming, as a result, we will have more and more and more shark populations who are going straight to the bottom. So it's important to reflect about this because it's a problem that we are all immersed. Microplastics are now everywhere. It's almost impossible to get rid of them. Microplastics also are working as a endocrine dysfunction, endocrine they're causing problems in the endocrine system, not only for different organisms, also for humans. And this is a problem that we need to address to everyone. So another fact, 100 million sharks are killed in a year versus 10 people. Only 10 people die due to a shark attack. Only 10. Of course, that there are shark attacks. Remember that I told you that sharks, they taste with their mouths. Unfortunately, I wish they could taste with their pectoral fins. Could you imagine the shark hugging you? Just say, okay, no, you man, you're not part of my diet. Unfortunately, they must taste with their mouth. And once they see a human acting like a wounded prey, and it's on the surface and it looks pretty small. I'm hungry. Okay, I need to see if that could be eaten or not. I completely understand. Some shark attacks are reported in different beaches, especially in Australia, for example, due to the presence of surfers there. But this is not part of our daily basis. We need to understand that part. So myth number 4, sharks have no predators and they are man-eaters. Nope, they're not man-eaters. And yes, they do have predators and the main predator is us. So do we have a solution for this problem? Yeah, there are many solutions that we can use in order to preserve and conserve all sharks. One of them is ecotourism. I see ecotourism, if it's well driven, it's a fantastic idea in order to preserve and conserve sharks around the globe. Something I like to tell my guests all the time when we are in nature is that we have to follow the golden law or the golden rule in this case. The golden rule is behave like a guest. Remember that guests, we don't establish the rules. We need to follow the rules every single time. So I think this is just a great, great opportunity to show the people how awesome the sharks are, how incredible these creatures are. And little by little, we can get rid of the idea that sharks are these killer machines. I think the path is really, really long. Many things have to happen, but I think like we can make the change if we are informing better to our guests, if we are informing better to people, if we are using reliable information. Um, some a study that I read a couple of days ago, in 2006, in 2007, in French Polynesia, a study was conducted, and they found that 1 kilogram of shark alive was given a revenue of $1,200. Yeah, only in French Polynesia. But a kilogram of a dead shark in the market was given a revenue of $1. So the difference is pretty large. So that led me thinking, we need to do something. And something has been done in different places, especially in Mexico. People are more conscious about sharks interaction. More people are conducting good practices in water. And I'm gonna show you something that I did 2 years, 4 years ago with my friends. That was fantastic. We were in Cabo San Lucas, and we were swimming with a group of silky sharks. These are all females. How do we know this? First, because they don't have the claspers, which are the sexual organs from the males. And second, in the video, you can see how the females are wounded. The reason is because normally when the males and females mate, the males are going to eat the full body of the female. So that means that they were recently mated in that area. So as you can see, they're pretty curious. They're not willing to attack us. They don't want to make us part of their meal. They're just swimming around. And then, of course, I had this experience with the wild shark, which are my favorite sharks in the animal kingdom because they're pretty gentle. And sometimes in La Paz, they tend to stay in vertical position and they just feed upon the rich plankton waters that we have during the winter. So Yeah, I had these two experiences. I also dove with other type of sharks like bull sharks in Caupulmo in Mexico as well. Fortunately, I don't have the videos yet. But just to finish this presentation, I want to tell you that before, sharks are really really good for the environment. As I told you, they have really good senses. They're really good hunters, but they only predate upon very specific types of prey. Second, they can inhabit in different places and they're really well adapted to different environments. And of course, they are controlling the population of other organisms. Just to finish, I want to say that we need to sensitize ourselves that sharks are in really huge danger and we're supposed to do something. Second, it's important to share information, but more important to share good and reliable information because sometimes we think like sharing TikToks, social media, Instagram stories, we're making a big difference. No, actually, sometimes if we are not sure about the source of this information, sometimes we will create more damage. So it's important to read reliable information. Learn more about sharks also might makes us feel better once we're in the water. I understand when I'm in the water with sharks, there's always like 98% of my mind is thinking, wow, this is a great experience. But only 2% is thinking, what if something happened? Of course, I still have this thought because these guys are really good in the water. I don't have the abilities that they have. And also, I'm a guest and they are hunters. But if you follow the right conduct, if you're doing the things right, nothing is going to happen. Again, it's important to educate ourselves to get more information and support. There are many NGOs who are working with sharks, not only in Mexico, also a lot of them are in US, a lot of them in Philippines as well, Taiwan. Um, so we can support them with money or sometimes with volunteers as well. It's a great option. So with all that being said, I'm going to finish this presentation. Um, and I just want to say thank you for being here. That was a really pleasure to present again about sharks. Thank you.
Oh, Eric, that was so good. I was thoroughly immersed in your presentation. And from all of these wonderful comments I'm receiving right now, everybody who tuned in feels exactly the same. So everybody, let's take some questions for some fun Q&A. And I've already gotten a few good ones, but everybody in your control panel, go ahead and whatever question you have, let's go for about the next like 8 or 9 minutes, Eric, if that sounds good to you.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
All right. So let's just go down here. Oh, I like this one. This is a good structural one. We're talking about what makes a shark and like what makes other fish. So, what is the difference between like bony fish and cartilaginous fish, or like sharks with cartilage and then fish with bones? What's the difference?
that's a pretty fair question. So the answer is the bony fish. Their skeleton is made out of bone, and in the case of the sharks, it's made out of cartilage. That's the big difference. And if we also want to add more and more difference, remember the gill slits. Sharks they have five, up to seven, and fish, bony fish, they only have one. Well, two, one in each side. And of course, the liver is pretty big in the case of the sharks. In the case of the fish, they don't have this structure which produces oil. What they have is a natatory bladder, which is a sac of gas which they inflate in order to be more buoyant or less buoyant, or deflate in order to be less buoyant. Yeah, those are the main differences.
Great, thank you. Going to that very interesting walking shark that you were talking about earlier, how
Yeah,
long can they stay out? Yeah, exactly. How long can
yeah.
they stay out of water?
Not that much. To be honest, I read that some people said that they could stay around 5 or 10 minutes. That it's not really that much, but it's impressive how they can actually be out of the water and still doing something. But yeah, so it's pretty impressive. They're really well adapted.
And switching gears a little bit to the conservation of sharks once again, has the situation improved at all, or are sharks still being harvested at a really high rate? And on that note, is shark fin soup still a popular driver of their harvesting in the wild?
Yeah. So yeah, the efforts of conservation have given really good results, but still many countries have denied the option of doing something different. As a matter of fact, in Asia and in other countries, they still demanding a lot of fin soup in their countries. Also in Mexico, it's pretty common to go to Asian restaurants and they offering this famous soup. The thing is that wow, it's like what I see is like taking the water out of the bathtub with with a spoon. If the water is running directly to the bathtub, it's almost impossible to do a lot if the big fishers are continue doing this. Some countries have been banned these activities. Some the good thing is that some species are now are protected in different countries. For example, in Mexico, it's completely illegal to catch whale sharks, saw sharks, yes. Also, great white sharks and hammerhead sharks. The great hammerhead shark. The other two species are allowed, but yeah, I think like little by little people are making a huge uh, changes, but still they're not enough. Definitely not enough.
Yeah, I agree. Not enough. We need to protect our apex predators. So this is an interesting question. It's going back to essentially shark motherhood. When sharks are giving live birth to live young, is there a
Yeah.
lot of maternal care, and can they nurse their pups?
Yeah, it's interesting. They don't have parental take care, to be honest. Most of the species, as soon as they give them birth alive, it's like it's up to you. Yeah, they don't actually keep care of them, and they don't nurse them because they don't nurse them as mammals because they don't have this glandul mammals which produce in our case, for example, milk. They are by their own, and that's why most of them they tend to migrate to different places which are protected in order to survive. For example, many mothers, what they do is they tend to go to mangroves because all the roots which are attached to the bottom help them out to be like a kind of nursery. So they either go to the mangroves to give birth to their puppies, or also another strategy is they go directly to the bottom. On the bottom, they are pretty safe from the majority of predators. Of course, that there might be also predators on the bottom, but they're pretty safe if they are hiding from other predators, especially under the rocks or inside of the coral heads as well. But yes, they are on their own. Yeah.
Ooh, this is a good question. I love it. So if somebody is in the water and a shark happens to be near, how should they behave?
It's a really good question, and we should address this technique to everyone. First, remain on calm. That's that's the first thing that we're supposed to do. Remain on calm, and um, remember that in the water we can be either a prey or a predator. So our size is pretty similar to the majority of the shark sizes. So if we also show the other shark that, hey, I'm not a prey, the shark will also keep the distance. But what happens if we're splashing a lot? If we start to swim far away from the shark will think that we are a wounded prey. So again, we need to remain calm. We need to keep sometimes eye contact, and very very smooth. We need to start to head to the beach or to the boat or to a safety area. That's the thing that we must do if we have a shark encounter. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Stay calm and move away. Is what it
Move
sounds
away,
like.
yeah, and always keep in mind that you have to keep the eye contact with the shark as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So, oh, I love this question because I also am curious about this. So, at the beginning, you had that really interesting slide of those prehistoric sharks with the jaws that were all curled up. Do you or scientists have any theories about why their jaws are shaped like that?
I know, it's so crazy. This is not just illustrations from the scientists based on the fossils from the teeth that they have found. So these are just projections. We don't know if they really had this shape, but I ask myself the same question, like what kind of praise were before? Because I mean, in order to have the shape of that mouth, you must have a reason. I mean, you don't have structures not in nature to not be used, but still, it's completely unknown. The situation before were completely different than today, but there must be a reason. But unfortunately, at least I don't have it right now.
Yeah, thanks for your honesty there. Yeah, that was a crazy photo. I also agree with that comment that came in. This is a fun question. So, your favorite shark, one of your favorite ones you said was the whale shark, right? That you had that
Yeah,
vertical photo of.
yeah.
Where are some of the best places to see it if somebody's interested in some ecotourism?
Yeah, of course, I would say La Paz in Mexico, but I know that there are other places in the world that you can see, you can have a really good experiences. In my opinion, Yucatan Peninsula was one of the most incredible places to see them because in 1998, scientists, it was 1998 or 2021, I don't remember really good the year, but they registered one of the largest aggregations of whale sharks in the world. They counted at least 200 whale sharks in one spot at the same time. That was crazy. Unfortunately, I wouldn't recommend people to go there because in my experience, I saw a lot of people. It was a chaos, and I didn't feel like we were actually enjoying a very intimate experience with the sharks. I would recommend to go to La Paz, of course, because it is very regulated. We have a lot of rules. Very few boats are doing the activity at the same time. Very few people are in the water at the same time. You don't see these images like from Philippines where people are feeding them or where people are riding them or hitting them. We don't have that. It's highly, 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 highly controlled. I also know that in Maldives, people have a really good experiences because you don't only have the whale sharks, also you have the manta rays, the Freddy manta. You have you aggregation of both species at the same time, which is insane. Also, I watched videos of people in Oman doing a great activity in Djibouti as well. But I'm to be honest, I don't know any tour operator there. But I would recommend the people if they want to do this activity to before they book the trip, just get sure that the company is following the rules or there's a like a management plan in the area, or if they are like they're conscious about the activity that they are performing. Yeah, that would be my advice.
Oof, yeah, I could not agree more. Finding reputable uh, tourism operators is very
Exactly.
important. And I will say from experience that, yeah, snorkeling with whale sharks in the Sea of Cortez is one of the most incredible experiences. I got to do that during some graduate research back in the day.
Oh,
So,
wow.
if anyone, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, right up the road. Well, not right up the
yeah,
road. Not too far away from La Paz. I actually did that.
nothing.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, if anyone has the opportunity, I highly recommend it. It'll change your life for
it's
sure. But
fantastic. Yeah.
all right, Eric, we have reached the top of the hour, so I would like to turn it to you for any last closing comments.
Yeah. So what I want to say right now is, if you want to know more information about sharks, or something related to the ocean, you can email me. I don't know if Brooke, you can provide people my email, and also what I like to say is that I think after we know more about what is out there, I think we just going a little bit like we're climbing like a ladder, reaching the level of consciousness that is pretty much desired in this world. Now that everyone is pretty busy doing many stuff, I think with this kind of things we can um, actually be a little bit more conscious.
Could not agree with you more. And tuning into webinars like these helps with that. So, again,
Yeah.
Eric, thank you for sharing your knowledge today. I was thoroughly entertained, and from all these comments I'm receiving, everybody was as well. So, thank you, Eric, and thank everybody who tuned in. Join us Monday for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out next week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nadhab.com/webinars. And keep an eye out for our Sunday e-news announcement. We did record today's presentation and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody.
Ciao.